I guess I have to do things now.
Yeah, you probably should put your phone down.
What if I just did this the entire time?
Then Kevin will have to do lots of talking. Welcome back to the NYC Godcast. We have Kevin back with us.
Kevin!
We're so glad to have him here again. So we are in a very, let's just say, interesting series right now.
Introsante.
Yes, exactly. We've talked about how when things are dead to us, it only causes things to get a little stinky when we continue to carry them around. And then last week we talked about dying to self.
Yep.
If you have no idea what I'm talking about, make sure to go back and listen to those previous 2 episodes to catch up with us. So I'll be honest, this is a very unique series, and I had absolutely no idea on what to write on.
Yeah, I feel that.
I prayed, and I was studying, and I just kind of felt like God just gave this to me. So
that's always good.
So here we go.
So if you don't like it, too bad.
Let's take it up with him. So we know we are to pick up our cross and die to self.
Yep.
Yes.
Even so far as everything in this world should be dead to us compared to our love for Christ.
Yep.
But now what? What do we get from everything being dead to us while we're still living?
Good question.
I know. Would you like to answer that for me?
He's like, I didn't write anything else. I figured that you guys would answer.
So Romans 14:8 says, "For whether we live unto the Lord, and whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Lord's."
Okay.
We are the Lord's. So when we relinquish everything, we truly get all we need in Him, and we are His. I'll be honest, a little bit of a control freak.
Oh
No.
Just no.
And I like knowing how things are going to go and when. And as a mom, I'm learning there's so much beyond my control. It's terrifying. Through different circumstances, God's been showing me the true peace and rest that I can find in Him.
Yeah.
We hit a little bit on this last week, but who better to control what you can't than the one who already knows the best outcome?
Yeah.
We should also let Him have control of what we feel we can't control as well, not
Yes.
just
Yes.
what we feel
Yep.
we can't.
Yep.
A little side note there.
Because even when you feel like you're doing a good job,
You're
ain't.
not.
Right.
You ain't
you're,
doing it.
You're messing everything up,
You
guaranteed.
think you are.
Yes, yes. So it may not sound fun to give up everything in this world, to die to self, to no longer want things. We're not saying you have to just live a boring life, right? I can attest to this. The more I allow myself to die, the more I give to Him, the fuller my life is becoming.
Yep.
Okay.
It isn't easy, and it hurts to let things die.
Yep.
But He makes it all worth it. My life is so fun. I arguably have the most amazing life. Not because of anything special that I am or that I've done or I could ever do, but God has slowly been showing me things I need to let go of and let die in my life. And it's allowing me to feel free, peace, joy, and rest.
I think of when you're talking about that, I think of the Skit Guys.
Yep,
Skit.
that's what was in my mind.
I can't remember what it's actually called.
Yeah, the chisel one. Is
The
that
chisel
one you're
one.
going off of?
Have you seen any of those?
I have not.
Well,
we have
basically,
to enlighten you after
yes,
this.
we'll have to show you. Basically, it's just a skit where he comes in and he's chiseling at. So it's a man that's playing Jesus coming in and chiseling off things that are unnecessary
Okay.
on you.
I've seen something similar to
Yeah,
this. Okay.
and it hurts because could you imagine somebody chiseling stuff off
right,
of
off
you?
of your body, yeah.
It's gonna hurt,
Yeah.
but in the end, it's exactly what you need to be.
And the one part on there, he's like, he stops God. He's like, no, not that one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
really like
yeah.
that one. And then like God is like, do you want this? Do you really want to grow closer to me? And He allows God to chisel that part that he really wanted to hold on to. And then he gets to grow even closer to God through it.
Okay.
Yep.
So you might be wondering what this looks like in a Christian life. So I will be vulnerable and I will share with you a few areas in my life that I am allowing still to die daily. It's a choice that I have to make every day. My feet hit the floor, I have to choose to die then and there every minute of every day.
Right,
Yeah.
So I used to be a nervous wreck when my kids would go places without me. And I think,
No.
yeah, just a little bit, maybe. What if they get hurt? What if there's an accident? What if they're taken? You know, if you're a mom, maybe soon to be a mom.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Kevin, I don't think you've ever been a mom.
No, I have not.
And no future of.
But you know all the crazy things your mind can come up with.
Yep.
But there's not much I can do once they're out of my care. I can't make sure no cars get near them when they're riding with someone else. I can't wrap them in bubble wrap, though it has crossed my mind, to protect them. One night I was just feeling so uneasy about them being away, and I started praying like I do every time that God would be there keeping them safe and watching over them better than I could if I were there. I'll admit I prayed this and I felt like, now what? So I just kept laying there. Like, do I just keep thinking of all the horrible things that could happen? Like, what do you do now? And God simply was just like, rest. So I prayed. I allowed my want to control to protect my kids die, left it in his hands, and literally all that's left at that point is to rest.
Yep.
And that's what I did. Another way that God's been working in me is saying yes to things instantly that I want to say no to.
Yeah.
So I'm a backwards person. I don't like being the center of attention. I don't like people seeing me. You may be thinking, what in the world are you doing
what are
here
you doing
right
here?
now?
This is not the place for you.
You're in the middle of a podcast.
Oh my goodness, someone help me.
You're sending like the signals in the back.
Like someone,
Yeah.
secret like hand signals, like someone help me
Help
out.
me, help me now.
But I'll say I have to do a lot of praying to get myself to be here.
Yeah.
Not in a, God, I want to stay, like help me to like say the right things so they want to keep me on.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, like,
Give me the desire to
Like,
do
yeah,
this.
like-
yeah.
God, I don't have anything to tell them. I'm
Yeah.
not a speaker. I'm not a teacher. If anyone anywhere gets anything from this, let them hear you. When Josh first asked us to start a podcast, I wanted to say no. Like, When we were asked to write for camp and different things, I instantly wanted to say no. But when I let my flesh die in the comfortableness of not having to do these things, God uses me. And that's a feeling that you really can't explain until you allow it to happen. Saying yes to the uncomfortable has brought me closer to him. And though extremely uncomfortable, it's brought me my Christian life to, as the pastor tends to use, a level up.
Yeah, level up.
And so I'm thankful for it. And I'm still extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But God is still working in me, and I'm thankful for it.
And I think that's the thing is people don't realize that the things that you step into are not meant to be comfortable.
Right.
Or the things that you step out of are not supposed to be. Because I'll say that like that's one of the things that I am very uncomfortable with a lot of the times is that I will say yes to a lot of things, and then it's really hard for me to say no.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's the opposite end of, because you need to know, just so you need to know as much as you need to know when to say yes, even though you want to say no, you need to know when to say no.
Yeah, well, it doesn't
Yeah,
help
when
you grow closer to God if you said yes just to please someone else.
Yes.
Right. You should be saying yes to what he wants you
Right.
Yes.
to do and
Exactly.
no to what he doesn't want you to do, which can be very confusing at times because sometimes it may sound like that's what he wants
Yeah,
you
like it's a
to
churchy
do.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then it turns out, wait, you didn't want me to do that?
Yep.
And like last weekend, or last Sunday, I should say, little known secret, I was supposed to be on the podcast last Sunday, but I think
Whoopsies.
I
We
think
were
what
unaware.
happened was, like, Josh came in to get me, and then he was sidetracked by some jokes, and then he just
No.
walked out. And
doesn't
maybe
get sidetracked.
once you guys started, he was like, I was supposed to go get Kevin. Oh, well, we already started. So, but anyway, so Miguel went out into the harvest, and I was thinking in my head, like, oh, like, I really want to do that because I did it once before with him, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, but I'm committed to doing the podcast, you know?
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, what does God want me to actually do? Because both things are good.
Yes.
But what does he want me to do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And while I didn't know what he wanted me to do, he knew what
Yep.
Yep.
he wanted me to do. So while I did neither last Sunday, I had, a good talk with people who stay here, between services. So I was thinking like, well, maybe that's what God wanted me to do today because he had Josh forget. And then when I was waiting for the Josh, Miguel had already left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm not doing either of those things I thought I was supposed to do.
Yep.
But God was saying, listen, you need to talk to these people who are here. So
Yes.
I know that you wanted to do these
Yep.
things, but that's not what I had in plan
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's an awesome illustration because you can see two ways that God could use you
Mm-hmm.
in good ways, like good, very good things both ways.
Yep.
And what maybe felt like lack of like laziness of like Josh or like whatever the case may be.
We're throwing you right under the
there he
bus.
goes. He's not here, so we're allowed to talk bad about him.
I'm just going to say forgetfulness
Yeah.
because we all forget.
right. But God still used you.
Right.
In a whole different way than what you thought he could have
Yes.
used you. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that especially in church world, it's really hard because it's the whole thing of because obviously you don't want people in a spot just because they need to be filled. Like that's not pleasing to God.
Right.
And the other is true also. There's a lot of people that so it's a balancing thing. So there's people over here that are doing a lot of things because they feel like they are forced to, as some people like to say, voluntold instead of volunteer.
Voluntold.
They're voluntold
I like that.
to do
I like
that.
I'm
And then there's people over
school
here.
this year.
Yeah. And then over here, there's people that are supposed to be doing those jobs, but they're uncomfortable, so they don't want to do those jobs.
Right.
And so, like, it's that balancing act of finding out where you're supposed to be because you could be on both sides at the same time with different things.
Right,
and so
yeah,
that's why it's
yeah.
so important for you to be in that communication with him into when someone brings you something, to not go with your gut feeling right in the instant. You're supposed to be praying to God. It's not supposed to be like, well, that's uncomfortable. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Or,
right.
Or as uncomfortable, I guess I have to.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to find that in between. And the only way, the problem is that people don't want to make that, do that work because it's not as simple as like black and white. It's not as simple as, oh, this is a good church thing. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Or that's not good. I'm not going to do that. It's, you have to know where God wants you.
Or maybe there's a third option altogether.
Yeah.
That we're not even aware of.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
even there. You know,
Yep.
like we only see choice A and B. You guys are like, no, it's C.
Right.
Yep.
But you can't see it yet. You know, it hasn't been.
I feel like that like sums up the Christian life.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you see A and you see B, and you're like, oh, I don't know. They're both pretty good. And God's like, well, it's actually C. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. It has not been revealed to you
Yeah.
just yet what I
Yeah.
want you to do.
So one last example that is unfortunately extremely hard for me is letting my attitude die. I know. You're
Sassy.
all thinking, Rachel, attitude?
Listen, they may be thinking that, but I've never thought that.
I know. You're not shocked. Kevin, you're shocked, right?
Yes, I am.
Very
I am.
shocked.
Put your halo there.
You're paying him under the table.
Most of the time it's more of with the kids and with CJ, but this is an area in my life that God has been chiseling away for quite some time now. And just when I think it's finally gone and died, God finds a little more here or a little bit more there that needs to die.
Yep.
I'll often snap at the kids or at CJ, allowing the little things to aggravate me, and then it hinders my relationship with all of them.
Yep.
What's funny is the things that the kids and CJ do that would just drive me crazy. Once God is chiseling them away or they die, I actually find joy in those things. So an example of that is when we first got married, I just thought it was CJ's job to take out the trash. Like that was how I was raised. And so every week the trash would pile up higher and higher, and he just never noticed it. And it got so
No, he
mad.
noticed it.
He's just like, I'm not dealing with that.
Sorry,
Sorry,
just smiling
CJ.
over there. But it would make me mad, and then I would make a mean comment about it. And now I actually find joy in taking out the trash and serving my family in that way.
Yep.
When we allow ourselves and the things we hold on to die, God will give us so much more.
Yep.
Yes.
When we let these things die, we get Him. We are His. He is greater than anything that we could hold on to.
Yep.
I think that like I've been recently, like this has really been big on me, is that like everything is for His will, not our will.
Yep.
Okay. And like Pastor was talking this morning, how people just say like a little snippet out of the Bible, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, that's what he means. Like, hey, God said if I just ask for this, He's gonna give it to me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they're missing the whole like the closer you get to God, the more you want things that He wants you to want,
Yes.
if that makes sense. Okay. So then that's why He gives you more, because now you're asking for things that He actually wants to give you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
As opposed to praying for worldly things that He really has no interest in giving you
Right.
at all, because they're so worldly that I believe that sometimes people can actually pray for sinful things unbeknownst to them that what they're praying for is actually sinful, you know, and God's like, no, because that is wholly against, you know, my will. So you need to like alter the things you want towards my will, not your own will, you know? And as far as like the chiseling away thing, I believe 100% that like God's gonna chisel at us until we get to heaven. Like there's never gonna come a point in our life where He's gonna go, yes, I'm done chiseling away all those things about you. Now you can go about your life on earth being perfect. And as we all know, we don't get that, you know, on earth.
And that's what, so kind of like a little bit of a different spin. So today we were talking about Mary and Martha in Sunday school. And it was basically the whole thing. I think we've done it at camp. It was a prayer station that we actually did. I don't think it was like this year. I think it was like a couple years ago. But it was what you fill your time with, that whole thing. And we showed them. So Jesus was the rocks inside of this cup. And so we put Jesus in there first, and then we put pinto beans.
Oh, yeah, I remember that presentation.
So, like, you put pinto beans in, that's your family and friends, because those are very important. So you put Jesus first, you put your family and your friends in there. And then you put the water was the stuff that you want, your desires. The switch is what we use, because all of the kids have switches. And so it all fit when you put Jesus first, your family and your friends second, and then your desires last. But then we tried to flip it, and we said, okay, we'll put your switch and stuff in there first. So they dumped the water in, and then they put their family and friends, and then they put Jesus, and it didn't fit. And so the whole thing was, if you put Him first, if you make Him the priority, and you put Him first in your life, everything else will fit.
Yes.
But if you don't, and that's actually, we were just talking about that, because was it your dad talking about tithes? And we were talking about how a lot of people will say that they don't have enough money to tithe. And I have noticed in my own personal experience, there's been times that I haven't tithed, like when I was, you know, not thinking about it, or I wasn't here all the time, so I didn't do it because I just didn't think about it. And I was always short money. But I've never been short money on the things that I need when I'm tithing. So it's that whole thing of, you give that 10%, whatever that 10, like, that's in money, that's in time, that's in you. You know what I mean? You give that first. And then everything else will fit.
That makes perfect sense, because I think that like people just tend to hold on to what they can control, understand, perceive. And like you just said, like now that you tithe, you're not short on money. And like to explain that to someone, it's like, I have less money, but I'm, you know what I mean? But I'm getting more money.
But I have everything I need.
Exactly. And God knows what we need.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He knows everything that we need. And He's always gonna, you know, come through. As long as you're, you know, living by His will and that you're on. And I think that's like such a huge part of everything is that we have to understand that as long as we're living by our will, okay, I'm not saying your life is going to be horrible, but I will say that it's not as filling. You know, like you will always have
be wanting
that
for something.
Exactly, you will always want for something. And when you turn your life over to Jesus, like you may actually have less, but that feeling of wanting is no longer there. Like you know, like you have fulfillment in your life, and I think that's the most important thing.
The contentment is priceless.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
And that really is what it is. It's not so like I because I shared about it on the podcast before, that when I was working as an STNA, I was really struggling spiritually and just different things because I wasn't able to be here. And so I remember waking up and feeling like I just didn't do enough, like ever. It didn't matter. I could have the entire house clean. I could have all of my bills paid. I could have everything off my checklist done. But I'd be sitting down, I'm like, I gotta do something. Like there's something I need. There's something more that I'm needing. And the thing was, I didn't need anything else except for Jesus. Like Jesus was the thing that was lacking. And so now, not that I'm not like 100% away from that, but like when I get up and I do my praying and my reading and my different things and put my focus on Him first, the rest of my day, I might not even get all my checklist done that day. But I'm like, It's fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you have that fulfillment
Yeah.
because like he fills the void we have and so much more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they say, like you don't know how much you need peace until you don't have peace.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you don't realize, like, once God fills you, like, you don't realize it. But then when you stray away and everything else, and you feel that need again, you're like, wow, like, I never knew that this was such a huge thing. And it is 100% because worldly things are not going to fill you up.
Yep.
Ever.
Never.
Right.
Ever.
Yep. And I think too, when you get a taste of it, you want more. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean letting things die gets any easier, but like the outcome of letting it die.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like the
It's
first
worth
few
it to
times that you
you.
let it die, you're like, I don't know, like is God really gonna be better than this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you let that die, and God's like, well, what about this? You're like, well, I see how that worked out before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this hurts, but I know it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you just want to keep going and giving more.
Well,
and
it's
more.
like when you're like a kid when they get sick and they don't want the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Like as they get older, like we don't like medicine either.
Right, but we know what it does.
We know what it does.
Right.
So like when we take the medicine, we're like, this is awful. This is the worst thing that I've ever tasted in my entire life.
That
Yeah.
cough syrup that my mom uses.
Creole emulsion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Creole emulsion, it's tar. Basically.
Okay.
It tastes like road. But
That bad.
it is bad. It's real
Okay.
bad. But it fixes you like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay.
And so like a lot of singers use it. So like that's the thing is like it's good for you. But as a kid, as a babe in Christ even, and like you don't know that.
Right.
You're like, I don't want it. Like think of trying to give Cara Grace anything.
It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
You don't.
You don't. It just comes out everywhere. And like that's what it is. It's we know as we mature, it's not that it tastes any better. It's not that
Right.
it's
Any
fun.
different.
Yeah,
Right,
it's not any
yeah,
different. We
yeah.
just know that the outcome is better.
Yep, it's
Right.
worth it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So for our charge up challenge this week, I think I forgot last time, so I remembered this time to put
Oh
one.
yeah, you did because we were like, you don't have a charge
Yeah,
challenge.
it's fine. Sure, no one noticed. I want you guys to pray and ask God to show you some areas of your life that you need to let die. I think we all have much more areas in our life that need to die than we
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just write them down and just help God to help you let go of them and to enter into His fullness.
Yep.
My quote is, it's an old dead guy.
It's an old dead guy. It's
But you
always an old
know-
dead guy.
but you know
it's
this
either
person.
it's always an old dead guy or girl.
Yeah. At least I know who writes my quotes.
Maybe I write my quotes.
Yeah, I think you do, but they're good. So
You're not
do a good
old or
job.
dead, so how does that fit into the
Are you
whole
allowed to
thing?
write quotes? All right. So He cannot bless us unless He has us. When we try to keep within us an area that is not our own, we try to keep an area of death. Therefore, in love, He claims all. There's no bargaining with Him. And that's by C.S. Lewis.
Good one.
Yeah, I know. I found one. I'm like, that fit perfectly.
It's a good.
Thank you, C.S. Lewis.
You're a good guy.
Although I'm
Did
sure
you write your
God
whole
him.
thing surrounding the quote, or did you find the quote
actually found that
afterwards?
afterwards.
There are some times that I do that. Like
Yeah.
if I'll
I
find a
always find
quote
it.
and I'll be like, that's a good quote. And then it'll just kind of like stem over here.
Yeah. I always find the quote afterwards. I never thought of doing it the other way.
No? Sometimes I do song first.
No, I was just writing like, what could go with this? CJ, can you read this? Tell me what I need. But I picked my own song because I really like this song. More and More of You by Selah.
That's
I like
good.
that
That's a good
It's
song.
a good
That's a
song.
good
It is
song.
a good song. So,
Yeah.
well, any last thoughts or words?
I'm a long thinker.
You're a long
so,
thinker, oh.
Yeah, I'm a long
I don't-
thinker.
I don't
So
think
as soon as we end this, you'll have like a ton
Exactly.
to say.
Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
but hopefully I'll be back next week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Josh won't forget to tell me. We
have to
love
see
you,
if Josh
Josh. We
remembers.
really do.
All right. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Kevin, for being
Thank you
on
for
here.
being here.
Oh,
And
no
since you didn't get to last week. And,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens next week. Until next time, see ya.
Bye, guys.